Hi, this is Kavanagh-Thomas and welcome to the Self-Love Greenlight. Today I am with Nina Concepcion and I really cannot wait for today's, speaking. I don't know what I'm going to say at this moment in time. It's 7 a.m. in the UK. So I cannot wait to speak to this incredible woman. I just want to share a little bit about the Self-Love Greenlight. The Self-Love Greenlight is for everyone who's in business, and it is everything to do with self-love while running your incredible entrepreneurship. And that is the beauty of it, because I do truly believe, and many of the women that I speak to and men that I speak to do truly believe that self-love, self-care is a massive, massive part of your growth journey when in business. And today I talked to Nina Concepcion, and she is a Tedx speaker, multi-six-figure conscious sales speaker, a coach, best-selling author, CEO of the Institute of Conscious Sales. And I will get to in a second as to what conscious sales means for the audience. Nina has spoken to thousands of people globally, featured in articles in Yahoo Finance, spoken in Tedx in the UK, Sydney's Mind and Body Festival, NLP Worldwide, Juice Plus, Isagenix, University of New South Wales, Child Abuse Prevention Services, Sydney, and many more. The Institute of Conscious Sales supports entrepreneurs and salespeople across 14 different countries with online courses, programs, trainings. She combines the mindset, energy, and skill set of what Nina calls conscious sales. Nina's following has named her the Naked Coach, with the title of her best-selling book, The Naked You. Actually, I'm going to start with that first. Why the Naked Coach? Oh my God, that's brilliant. That is fantastic. And it just says it perfectly on the screen.
Yeah.
So just for everyone to know, Nina just held up her book. Can you just hold it up again so I can just read like the first bit? So Nina's held up a book, a guide to embracing your imperfections in life and business, The Naked You. And that is fantastic. And it is a picture of Nina on the front naked with the naked you across her. How fantastic is that? Tell me how, obviously, tell me why the naked you, and tell me how the book came about.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I honestly feel like it was like giving birth. I'm not even joking. What I say to a lot of people, because getting my book published and doing my TED Talk happened in the same year, and they actually came to fruition. They were actually being created. They were actually being birthed. They were being edited at the same time. And so when people ask me, how was last year? I said, I felt like I gave birth to twins, because they were two of the biggest projects I've ever worked on. But when it comes to the naked you, vulnerability has always been something ever since I found personal development, ever since I've stepped into, I guess, learning to love myself more and getting curious about what makes people tick. How can I live a more fulfilled and happy life? Vulnerability is the thing that I continually live by. I'm continually asking myself, how can I show up as the best version of myself? How can I really be who I am? And I know that we all feel the pressure of feeling like we need to be someone else or show up a certain way. And so for me, that vulnerability is, how can I just be me? And I talk about it so much in my book. Literally the first chapter I wrote, one of the challenging things about writing this book is I can't be in the illusion anymore that it's going to be perfect, because once it's created, I can't live in that illusion anymore. And I was constantly reminding myself that it's a work in progress. And I could feel the pressure of it having to be amazing and it having to be mind-blowing. And really my intention for the book was, how can I just share from my heart? How can I share my experience? And vulnerability, like I said, has been such a big key piece in me living the life that I live. And I'm so happy with the life I live.
And you know what? You hit the nail on the head. Living in vulnerability. I have seen many of your posts, and you do live very much in vulnerability. And that is something even I myself seek for when I, when I look for coaches or when I'm looking at coaches, because I'll be very honest, and especially, I mean, a lot of the audience know that I'm quite vulnerable anyway. And what I want to share with you is that sometimes I've spent a long time, and probably many other people have, maybe they identify with this, spent a long time looking at many coaches and everything is very perfect. And you don't see any of the shit that, the shit in the bin, I'm going to call it. You don't see any of that kind of stuff. You don't see like the struggle or anything like that someone goes through to have to get to where they're going to. And I have seen that in your post, and it gives many of us, even myself included, permission to just be ourselves. Permission that, life isn't always perfect. It's 7 a.m. here, my kids may get up in a minute and go, oh my God, like, and they could, maybe not, hopefully not, they could walk in. There is a potential of that, right? But they go with it because this is real life and this is what real life does and is.
Yeah.
So share with me how Tedx came about for you. How did that come around for you?
There were definitely a lot of synchronicities around how I landed my TED Talk. But just on the point that you were saying before I answer that question, I absolutely love sharing my struggles. I love it because I see so many people, and it ties into self-love. I see so many people, and I know that I obviously still have this as well, but so many of us really beat ourselves up. Oh, I'm not here yet. I'm not there yet. I don't have this and I don't have that. But something I remind my clients all the time is where you are in your business. You're a couple months into your business. It took me years to be where you are right now in your business. So even though you don't feel like you're ahead, you really are. Like, you're already 5 years ahead of where I was when I was at this point of my journey. And so for me, sharing the struggle is just sharing with people, yeah, sometimes it is shit, but this is a reality and this is life. And you need to sometimes go through the shit to find the gold, and that's just reality. And so I love seeing people have that realization of, oh yeah, I'm not so bad then. I'm actually doing pretty good. Yes, you are. Please be kind to yourself.
I think that I like how you went back to that and went back to the struggle, and just to remind people that the struggle is, the place. It's a place where the gold is. It's a place that shapes us. Sorry, I interrupted. Carry on.
I can already tell you, and I can easily go off on multiple tangents if we were sitting having for a coffee. So with my TED Talk, my partner's English. He's from Preston, and we've been together coming up to 7 years, actually, next month. And we have a 5-year-old daughter. And he said to me about 1.5 years ago, I haven't been home the whole time we've been together. No one's met our daughter other than his parents, who now live in Australia, and a couple people that have come to visit. And he said, I really want to go back to the UK for my 40th birthday and to see family. Everyone can meet Lily. And I love traveling anyway, and I love Europe. So I said, yes, of course, let's go. And so we booked it about 6 months or so in advance. And I'm someone who is horrible with email. I think I've got like 20,000 unread emails. I just don't like reading emails. And there was a company that subscribed me to a bunch of emails, which I was actually really not happy with, because I was like, no, like, I don't want to be subscribed to this anyway. Long story short, one day I happened to see an email, which I, again, rarely see emails, but I happened to see an email that said, TEDx Surrey University is opening up applications for the first in-person TEDx event since COVID. And it had been, I think, 2 or 3 years since they'd run an in-person event. And I thought to myself, sorry, isn't that in the UK? And I looked at the dates. It was literally the dates that we were going to Europe.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was like 6 months in advance. It wasn't like, and we were there for a few weeks. So it's It's not like, oh yeah, it's happening tomorrow. It's months in advance. And I just got goosebumps and I thought to myself, surely this is for me. Surely the universe has sent this to me and I've seen this for a reason. And I still really exercised unattachment. I was like, I feel like it's for me, but I'm just going to do my best. And if it's not this, then there's going to be something better. And they did get a record number of applications because it was the first time that they were running an event since COVID. So I think they had 144 applications and I made the top 14. So 3 interviews later, I think 2 days or the day before we left for the UK, I got an email telling me that I got it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's incredible. And what you've just described to the audience there is synchronicity.
Absolutely.
And listening to your intuition. And you also spoke about letting go. And this is what a lot of the audience may be familiar with as well.
Trina, you'll love this piece as well. Like, yes, everything that you've said. And I think that the final piece is a lot of people have asked me about my TED Talk, right? And I've said to them, I can really see why I didn't manifest it until now. I can really see that I truly wasn't ready prior to the moment that it happened, because the level of commitment, the level of persistence, the clarity I needed in my message to be able to articulate what I wanted to say in 15 minutes is hard. I went to a speaker training and they said, you know, if you want me to deliver a 5-hour presentation, give me 5 minutes. But if you want me to deliver a 5-minute presentation, give me 5 hours. Because to condense your message into a very small amount of words is so much harder than having so many out. And that's one of the things about the book, is condensing what it is that you want to say. And I remember, because we were traveling Europe as well. We went to Italy, we went to Spain. I did my TED Talk, obviously. We also did a drive through Scotland. And so we were also traveling as a family in the lead up to my TED Talk. And I committed to every day, at least twice a day as a minimum, I would practice the speech. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it was 5 o'clock in the morning next to my daughter and my partner sound asleep. Sometimes it was like, oh shit, I've gotten home and I still haven't done it yet. I'm a little bit tipsy because I've been out drinking with all of the couples, but I've made the commitment to myself and I don't care how tired I am. I don't care if I need to go to bed 15, 20 minutes later, I'm going to do the work. And it was those reps every single day that I needed to do to be able to not only manifest that opportunity, but to be able to show up, because you're going to love this, Trina. I got to the event and I said to the organizer, I thought you said there were 12 speakers. And she said, yeah, every year we give the spot to 14 speakers because normally always 2 people just don't show up. She said, this is the first year that all the speakers have shown up.
Wow. So all 14.
Yeah, my mind was blown. I was like, how can you get this far into the process and just not show up? And she said they just freak out. They literally just freak out. And I think it's because they don't commit to it. If you commit to it every single day, it gets easier to show up later. And again, you're going to love this about struggles and failing forward. So I got there a couple of days before because I actually auditioned on Zoom. I'm proud to say I'm the only one who auditioned on Zoom and actually got the part. Everyone else auditioned in person. Yeah, and I thought, oh, thank God I've done so much delivery on Zoom. That practice has really paid off. Again, it's exercising that muscle, right?
But that's it. That's the thing, is that exercise, that repetitive. Yeah.
And so I got to the venue 2 days before the event so we could practice on stage. And of course, everyone's biggest fear is, what if you forget what you're talking about? And because my TEDx audition was very extensive, and I've spoken to quite a few TEDx speakers, and no one has had to go through the process I went through, but I'm so grateful that I did, because I feel like I've become a better speaker because of it. But I had to send through my entire manuscript and then deliver it live on Zoom, which means that there's no room to wing it. There is no room to, oh, I'm just going to see what I talk about, right? It's literally timed to a T what I'm talking about, and it's word for word. And so I got up on stage during the rehearsal and my mind went completely blank.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I literally did not remember where I was up to in my presentation. And I do have a background in acting. So I think that muscle really helps. And I just thought in my head, I'm like, oh shit, like where am I up to? Obviously, I'm not standing there going like this, but in my head, I was like, what am I talking about? And then I was like, just find something to talk about. And then I just started talking about something. And then I realized I repeated myself. I'm like, I already said this part, but I'm like, oh, well, whatever, keep going. And then I was like, oh yeah, no, that's where I'm up to. And then I kept going. And I finished the rehearsal, and the organizer said, that was really good. We were really happy with that. And I said, did you notice that I forgot what I was talking about? And they said, no, like we couldn't tell at all.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, that is honestly the best thing that could have happened to me, because I lived that fear. It's like, yeah, I did forget, but you know what? I'll pick myself back up and I'll figure it out, which is just life. And so many people are so scared to fail forward. So many people are like, oh, but what if I do it and I fail? What if I do it and it's not perfect? And I say to so many people, the only reason why I am where I am today is because I've been willing to fail. I've been willing to just improve a little bit every single time I do it. And I am someone who can be really hard on myself, like a lot of us. However, I don't let it stop me. And I'm constantly bringing myself back to, I would rather take imperfect action and still make an impact, because it's not about me. I'm not showing up for me. I'm showing up to make an impact. Anyway, so I ended up having the actual presentation and I remembered everything.
Yay! And to the minute as well, I reckon, yeah?
Yeah. I practiced it so many times, like there was no chance. The muscle was already so solid by the time I presented that.
That is complete action and repetitive action as well, which always gets you somewhere. Share with me, the art of conscious sales within that, because there's going to be some processes within what you've spoken about in the Tedx talk, I take it, that really relate to sales, and really relate to the audience getting the sales that they need.
Yeah, and this was what was so interesting as they kind of got birthed together. I've known for quite some time, and I've been writing my book, honestly, for years. I remember my partner said to me a couple of years ago, he's like, are you still writing your book? You've been writing it for as long as I've known you. I'm like, I know, I just need to finish it. And honestly, if it wasn't for my publisher saying, Nina, like, we need it. Like, you have a deadline now. I'm like, oh, okay. If it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have even finished it. Again, deadline's good, right? Having accountability works. But I already knew that I got the vision. It was a download one day. I was at an event and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to write a book. It's going to be called The Naked You. I'm going to be naked on the front cover, and I'm going to share a lot about my story. And it's a bit of a personal development book, but there's going to be a little bit of business in there. I already knew that as the foundation. Mm-hmm. And then over the years, I started to niche. I started to be, because originally I was a life coach, then I was a life and business coach, and now I've niched as a sales coach over the last 4 years. And so my old business name was The New You, because it was all about awareness and changing your life through the way that you think. And then I changed it to the Institute of Conscious Sales. And so I thought, I feel like there's such a disconnect between The Naked You, which is all about personal development and vulnerability, and then the Institute of Conscious Sales. And because a TED Talk is it's for the general public, right? It's not necessarily for entrepreneurs. And so I wanted to think of a way that I could combine the two pieces together for my TED Talk. So that's why my TED Talk is called Why Your Imperfections Are the Key to Conscious Sales. Oh. And that's how they've come together. And it was interesting. Again, I talk about this in my book. The name of my book originally, the subtitle was A Guide to Living Authentically in Life and Business. And then authenticity was thrown around a lot. Everyone was saying authenticity. Oh, I'm so authentic. You're not authentic. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that word is being so overused. And I didn't want to use the word authenticity. And so again, in the first chapter of my book, I talk about the fact that I changed the subtitle of the book, because I thought to myself, what does authenticity really mean to me? Because a lot of people say to me, Nina, I love how authentic you are. And I just said, it's so strange because I don't try to be authentic. I'm not I'm going to be authentic today. What I think is, how can I just be me? That's what's the forefront of my attention. And I thought to myself, well, what does authenticity mean to me? It's loving all of who I am. It's loving my imperfections. It's loving my strengths, because we tend to shy away from each end. We're like, oh no, you're more beautiful than I am. And you have prettier hair than I do. And oh, this dress, I just throw this on. Your dress is so much nicer than mine. Or, oh no, I can't share about that. Like, people are going to think I'm weird. Or no, those are my stretch marks. Like, I'm never going to show that when I'm at the beach. We tend to shy away from the two ends of, I guess, good and bad, if you want to look at it that way, or imperfections and strengths. And for me, it's about how can I embrace all of those things? And I do share a lot of that in my book. But my TED talk was really about how your imperfections are the key to conscious sales. And really, conscious sales is just communication. I always say that sales is just heightened communication. And so I really tie in how we can use a high level of communication and sales in our everyday life. Like, I remember when me and my partner first started dating, one of my best friends calls me the pre-framing queen, because I'm always pre-framing. So for those of you who don't know what pre-framing is, it's a sales terminology. You tell someone in advance that something's going to happen. And I'm always doing it, not even just in the sales capacity, but in my everyday conversations. And I remember when I first started dating my partner, I would always say, I just want to let you know, I don't need you to try and fix it. I just want to tell you how I'm feeling. You don't need to do anything, okay? And I remember I did that for ages before he was like, okay, is there anything I can do? I'm like, you just hug me. I'm okay.
That's all I need today, is just
exactly. Yeah, please don't try and fix it. There's really nothing you can do to fix it. Like, just hug me. That's all you can do. That's all I need.
Just while you cry it out and sob. Yeah,
exactly. And really, that's just communication. And so I talk about that a lot, really, on my TED talk, and that really we're all communicating something, whether we are aware of it or not. We are selling something. We're selling an idea. We're selling how we think, how we hold ourselves, what we believe in, our vision for the future. Whenever we open our mouth, we are communicating something, and there is something that people are buying when we are communicating. They're either buying into what we're saying and they're agreeing with us, or they're not. And there's no right or wrong. It's just, I think, realizing that as much as we can all improve in our communication, the better the impact and the bigger the impact we can make, regardless if we're an entrepreneur or not.
Absolutely. And I think where you hit the nail on the head was the fact that just that conscious communicating, being able to speak in a certain way and being able to say exactly what it is that you mean on a day-to-day basis, even in, as you mentioned, like in your relationship, being able just to express your needs in particular, and I've noticed that as well. I've noticed that in sales, that when you express your needs, you're more likely to get things moving.
Yep.
You're more likely to, step forward and embrace. And I love what you're saying, because it is fully about embracing who you are, and not being so worried about it as well when it comes down to it. That is absolutely beautiful. Are there any tips that you would like to give the audience before we leave?
Oh my goodness, there's so many.
And then what I'll do is I'll share your links as well, because
thank you.
I have to say the meditation you've got for the audience is just incredible. I've used it myself, so that's how we met. But yeah, please do.
I would honestly say, again, it's one of the things I talk about in my book, but it's just about taking one step. And if one step feels too big for you, then don't worry about taking that huge step. Like, just take one little baby step. And sometimes that itself is a huge win. In my book, I talk about the fact that I had memories of sexual abuse start to come up in my memory. And I actually ended up confronting the person when I was about 12, and then I ended up confronting them again about 10 years later. And I write about that experience in my book because it was actually incredibly healing. And I remember thinking to myself, if someone had told me that I would be confronting him again the second time around for the purpose of loving myself to a deeper level, I wouldn't have believed them. And really my intention of being able to catch up with him was I knew in my heart I wanted to make a bigger impact. I knew in my heart I wanted to be able to empower people to live an empowered life. And I thought to myself, what is the biggest demon that if I combat, and this is muscles being built, right? This is years and years and years of working through it. I remember thinking to myself, if I could give this person love just because they are a human being, and I can be compassionate and I can be understanding and not hate him and not want to kill him, then I feel like I've overcome that dragon. I feel like there's nothing in the world that I can't do if I can learn to forgive him. And that's what I did. And I genuinely have love for him as a human, as a soul. And I interviewed him in my book as well. And I share his journey of vulnerability and the fact that he was also sexually abused. But, if someone had told me that I would have done that, I would have written about it, I would have done this, and this, like I wouldn't have believed them, because it's just about taking those little steps. So if you just take a moment to close your eyes and ask yourself, what is the one thing you can do today to honor yourself and love yourself deeper? Is it telling your partner that what he or she said this morning upset you? Is it reaching out to a friend and letting them know that you actually miss them and you want to catch up with them and you're sorry you haven't reached out for a while, rather than blaming them for not reaching out? Like, how can you take self-responsibility? Is it telling your son or daughter that you are sorry that you haven't been more present and that you'd like to make more of an effort? Is it looking at yourself in the mirror and not having negative self-talk and maybe just saying, I love you, I'm proud of you? Like, whatever that is it going to a beach and taking your top off for the first time and going, showing off your boobs? Like, whatever that is, it doesn't actually matter what it is, but it's the consistency of exercising that muscle that over time makes the biggest difference.
Wow, that is incredible. Thank you so much. And just to recap for the audience, today we've spoken about, the full on power of manifesting synchronicities. We talked about just now taking back your power, right into that moment of, exercising that muscle, that step by step, taking it step by step. Because when you're doing things step by step, things do get better. And they really, really do. I just want to say a thank you for coming on here. And for the audience, you can find Nina. You can find her on Facebook. So Nina the Naked Coach. You can also find her on Instagram, Nina the Naked Coach. And you can access her free soul client attraction meditation. I have to say, I've used it myself. It is incredible. This is how me and Nina met. I tell you what, I have to say, I've got to give something away of yours, because this is how me and Nina met. I was looking to attract more soul clients into my space, and I found Nina's meditation online. And after I found it online, I signed up to it. Nina actually came and friend requested me, and I felt that was one of the most beautiful things, because I love, and I don't know about you in the audience, I love personal invites. I love it when someone wants to get to, I think it's just that thing, isn't it? That type of thing. But it is such a beautiful thing, and that's how this has come about, is speaking together, because Nina did put out there, I'm looking to do podcasts. And I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. Take the moment, Trina. So I have to say, if it wasn't for the soul client attraction meditation, me and Nina met, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. And it wouldn't have drawn more people even into my space as well. So it has, it's done many things, this meditation, and I would definitely say download it. It's free. It's 5 minutes. Doesn't even take very long. and it is sacmeditation.com/Nina. Simple. But we'll pop all the links and everything up on the podcast on YouTube, which will be shown on YouTube. It will also be shared on Spotify as well at the Self-Love Greenlight, and we'll also share it across all social media platforms, wherever I am at this time. Everywhere. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on today. Honestly, it's an absolute joy speaking to you, and we have a mutual thing for each of us, accents as well. I love your accent, I have to say. That's why we were like voice. I love listening to a voice. That's why I voice noted you, so like you could just hear, you know, we can hear each other, and I think that's beautiful. Anyway, before rambling on, because I know I am capable of rambling on for quite some time, and we could be here all day, and we do have places to be. So thank you, Nina. Thank you for coming. Is there anything you want to say to the audience before you go?
I'm just super grateful for this connection. I'm super grateful for the work that you are doing. I remember having this visualization. It could be during my meditation, but also when I've just been in meditation in general. But if you think of the world, there's really just lights everywhere around the world. And there's, you know, the light that it radiates, and then there's another light that radiates. And then the more people that are shining their light, the entire globe just ends up glowing. And you are one of those bright lights. And I'm so grateful that you are showing up, you are being in your heart, you're opening up these conversations for people to listen to your vibration and to feel your message, which is so important. Like self-care, self-love is so important. So I want to thank you for the work you are doing.
Oh, thank you very much. I'll take that. Thank you. Yeah, and thank you everyone for listening this time. The Self-Love Greenlight will be back with another episode, and you can follow us on Spotify. All the details will be in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Thank you.